Northern California has over 280 state and national campgrounds, and somehow that makes it harder, not easier, to plan a trip. The good ones fill up in minutes. The overhyped ones leave you disappointed. So I went through the reviews, the reservation data, and the real visitor feedback to build a list that actually holds up. These are the 10 best places to camp in Northern California. Number 10, Plaskett Creek. Most people driving Highway 1 through Big Sur blow right past Plaskett Creek Campground without stopping. That's their loss. Sitting just south of Lucia in Los Padres National Forest, this spot puts you within walking distance of Sand Dollar Beach, one of the longest stretches of accessible shoreline on the entire Big Sur coast. You're not just camping near the water, you're camping where the water is the whole point. The campground costs $35 per night and offers 44 sites for tents and RVs. It stays manageable because it hasn't been over-marketed, but don't let that fool you. Reservations through Recreation.gov go fast, especially between June and September. One visitor described the sound of the ocean at night as reason enough to come back every year. Plaskett Creek sits roughly 65 miles south of Carmel, so if you're driving from the Bay Area, build in time. Highway 1 through Big Sur is not a road you rush. That's not a warning, that's the whole experience. Number 9, Lake Siskiyou. There's a version of a lake campground that's just a parking lot with water nearby. Lake Siskiyou is not that. Tucked just outside the town of Mount Shasta in Northern California's Shasta Trinity region, this campground sits at the base of Mount Shasta itself, a 14,179-foot volcano that dominates the skyline in a way that genuinely stops people mid-sentence. The lake is in the foreground, the mountain is the painting. Lake Siskiyou Camp Resort spans 325 acres and offers over 300 sites ranging from primitive tent spots to full hookup RV pads, with nightly rates starting around $45. The beach area, boat rentals, and on-site store make it work equally well for families and solo travelers. One visitor called it the most complete campground experience they'd had in the state. The honest note, summer weekends get crowded, and the resort atmosphere leans more developed than rustic. If you want pure wilderness, this isn't it. But if you want Mount Shasta at sunrise from your camp chair, nothing on this list competes with that feeling. Number 8, Fowler's Camp. Not every great campground announces itself. Fowler's Camp sits along the Upper McCloud River in Shasta Trinity National Forest and operates almost entirely on word of mouth. No resort infrastructure, no camp store. What it has is one of the clearest, coldest, most quietly beautiful rivers in Northern California running right through it, and that turns out to be enough. The campground offers 38 sites at $22 per night, making it one of the better value stops on this list. The McCloud River through this stretch is a designated wild and scenic river federally protected from development. That status isn't just a legal footnote, you feel it when you're there. Here's the tip worth keeping. Fowler's Camp sits about a mile from the Lower McCloud River Falls trailhead, which connects to Middle Falls and Upper Falls in a single hike. Combine the two and you've built one of the better single-day itineraries in Northern California without really trying. Come mid-September and the crowds are mostly gone. Number 7, Grover Hot Springs. Picture this, you're at 5,900 feet elevation, surrounded by a high alpine meadow in the Toyabe National Forest, and there's a natural geothermal pool 50 yards from your tent. That's not a fantasy itinerary, that's just a Tuesday at Grover Hot Springs State Park near Markleeville in Alpine County. The campground offers 76 sites at $35 for standard sites. The hot springs pool costs an additional $7 per adult, easy to justify after a full day of hiking. But this place books out weeks in advance, sometimes months, particularly for summer and fall weekends. If you're not reserving early on Reserve California, you're not getting in. The elevation keeps summer temperatures cooler than the valleys below, but late season visits can turn cold fast. One visitor recommended bringing layers even in summer, calling the temperature swings between afternoon and midnight more dramatic than expected. That's not a flaw, that's alpine camping doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Number 6, Pantal Campground. 20 miles from downtown San Francisco, there's a campground that feels like it should be much harder to reach. Pantal Campground sits at 1,500 feet on Mount Tamalpais in Marin County, and the view of the Pacific on a clear morning is the kind of thing that makes people question why they live indoors. The proximity to the city is the selling point. The feeling once you're there is that the city doesn't exist. The campground costs $35 per night and offers 16 walk-in tent sites, keeping it intentionally small and quiet. No RV, no hookups, no noise violations at midnight. Reservations go through Reserve California, and the limited site count means weekends disappear fast. One visitor described it as the best sleep they'd had in years. Mount Tamalpais sits in the coastal fog belt, so mornings can be completely socked in before burning off by midday. Come in late spring or early fall for the clearest skies. The Dipsea Trail connects directly from camp, giving you access to one of the oldest trail races in the country without driving anywhere. Number 5. Steep Ravine. Some campgrounds are nice. Steep Ravine is the one people talk about for years. Perched on a dramatic ocean bluff inside Mount Tamalpais State Park in Marin County, this spot offers something most California campgrounds can't. A choice between primitive tent sites and rustic wooden cabins sitting directly above the Pacific. The water is right there, not nearby, right there. The tent sites run $25 per night, and the cabins go for $100, and both book out so fast that scoring a reservation feels like a genuine achievement. The cabins sleep up to 4 and come with a wood stove, a sleeping platform, and a view that no hotel at that price point can touch. One visitor called it the most memorable 2 nights of their entire California trip. Here's where I want to hear from you. Are you a cabin camper or a tent purist? Drop your answer in the comments because this list has both, and I want to know which side you're on. And if Steep Ravine just moved to the top of your list, I've linked the best current travel deals in the description below to help you plan your trip for less. Number 4. Lassen Volcanic. Most people can name Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon without blinking. Ask them about Lassen Volcanic National Park and you get a pause. That pause is your opportunity. Located in northeastern California near the town of Chester, Lassen is one of the least visited national parks in the continental United States, and it contains an active volcano, boiling mud pots, steaming fumaroles, and hydrothermal lakes that look like they belong on another planet. The park has 5 campgrounds with over 350 sites, and nightly rates run between $16 and $26, depending on hookup level. Summit Lake North and Summit Lake South are the most popular, sitting at roughly 6,700 feet with direct trail access to the park's best day hikes. The entrance fee runs $35 per vehicle for a 7-day pass. The best window is July through September when roads are fully open and snow has cleared. Come mid-September and you'll get fall color, cooler temperatures, and crowds that have largely moved on. One visitor described Lassen as the park that finally got them to stop defaulting to Yosemite every summer. That's about as honest a recommendation as this list can offer. Number 3. Julia Pfeiffer Burns. There is exactly one campground in California where you can fall asleep to the sound of a waterfall emptying into the Pacific Ocean. Julia Pfeiffer Burns State Park in Big Sur contains McWay Falls, an 80-foot waterfall that drops directly onto a cove beach with nowhere to go but the sea. The campground sits above it. The view is permanent. The park offers just 2 environmental campsites, Pelican and Partington, both walk-in, both $30 per night, and both requiring a permit that is genuinely difficult to secure. You have to want them. One visitor spent 3 weeks refreshing the reservation page before a cancellation opened up and described the night they finally stayed as worth every attempt. The McWay Falls Overlook Trail is open to day visitors, so early mornings are yours if solitude is the priority. Big Sur's Highway 1 also remains vulnerable to storm closures, so checking Caltrans road conditions before you drive isn't optional. It's just smart planning. Number 2, Patrick's Point. Patrick's Point State Park doesn't try to be one thing, and that's exactly what makes it work. Sitting on a rocky headland near Trinidad in Humboldt County, this campground gives you old-growth spruce forest, tide pools, coastal prairies, and ocean bluff trails inside a single 632-acre park. Most campgrounds ask you to choose a landscape. Patrick's Point just says yes to all of them. The park offers 124 sites across 3 campgrounds, Agate, Penn Creek, and Abalone at $35 per night. Summer weekends fill predictably, so early booking applies here the same as everywhere else on this list. The Agate Beach Trail drops down to a shoreline where visitors collect small agates and surf-polished stones, the kind of activity that makes a 2-night trip feel complete. Patrick's Point sits on ancestral Yurok land, and the park includes a reconstructed Yurok village called Sumeg, maintained in partnership with the Yurok tribe. One visitor noted it reframed the entire trip. Suddenly the landscape had a human story attached that made everything feel more grounded. That's not a side attraction. That's the whole point of traveling somewhere new. Number 1, Yosemite Valley. Yosemite doesn't need an introduction. It needs an honest one. The valley floor sits at 4,000 feet, framed by El Capitan, Half Dome, and Bridal Veil Fall in a configuration that has stopped people cold for over 100 150 years. The reason it tops this list isn't that it's famous, it's because the famous thing is actually true. Yosemite Valley campgrounds put you inside one of the most extraordinary landscapes on Earth, and no amount of crowds changes that fact. There are 4 campgrounds on the valley floor: Upper Pines, Lower Pines, North Pines, and Camp 4, with nightly rates between $21 and $36. Reservations open 5 months in advance on Recreation.gov, and they are gone within minutes, not hours, minutes. One visitor compared the reservation process to buying concert tickets for a show that sells out before you finish typing your name. Cancellations do come through, and checking Recreation.gov at 7 a.m. Pacific time when daily releases drop gives you a legitimate shot at a last-minute opening. The park also requires a $35 vehicle reservation between April and October on top of the entry fee. Come for the landscape, stay patient with the logistics. Yosemite rewards the effort every time. Northern California doesn't make it easy. The reservations are competitive, the drives are long, and the best spots fill up before most people even think to look. But that's the filter. The people who plan, who refresh the page, who build the itinerary, they're the ones who actually get there. Now you know where to go. If you enjoyed this video, you'll love this next one.